Hey everybody, this is Don and Dan coming to you from the Clinical Trials Guru. Hey, we got a question from a gentleman named Philip LaFleur. I hope I'm pronouncing that last name correctly, Philip. All the way from Kakas Kazakhstan. Okay, excuse me if I'm not saying that correctly either. I know there's been different pronunciations, but anyway, Philip is originally from Canada, and he's working in Kazakhstan, and he's interested in opening up a medical research institution or a medical or clinical site at one of the universities there. Let's see what. Let me read this off to you. So, I recently found your site. I am a Canadian working at a new medical research institute in Astana, Kazakhstan. We want to develop a clinical trial site at one of the university hospitals. There's been very little clinical research in Kazakhstan to date. We have some hospital staff who have done training in GCP, but not much else. There is big potential for clinical trials in this country. Can you suggest where I can go to find resources on how to start a clinical trial site from scratch? So he's looking for resources on how to start a clinical trial site from scratch.
And in the spirit of Canada, Phil, this is what I'm drinking today.
Canadian Dry.
Yes, gotta represent for Canada. It's
The man.
very interesting that he's Canadian and starting a research site in Kazakhstan. But I guess that's just a glimpse into the way this industry seems to be trending right now. A lot of outsourcing, and I'm sure there's zero competition out there, which is why Phil's even asking this question. So we applaud your courage to do this. And it's not easy to be the first one anywhere, but there's many advantages. So I don't know about the regulations in Kazakhstan. I'm sure there's not too many regarding clinical trials. So it's always good to just follow GCP and I guess the any FDA guidelines they have, also
Mhm.
World Health Organization guidelines. And there's a European version of the GCP, which you should also start following. Basically, though, it's no different than anywhere else. If you're going to have a clinic, you want to find some doctors to do your studies
Mhm.
and try to find any hospitals, you know, somewhere maybe in the major cities where there's a lot of hospitals. University hospitals are good. You may want to just open up an office
Well, it sounds
outside the
like
university.
that's what they're targeting is one of the university hospitals.
Oh, so he wants to make a site within the hospital.
It sounds that's what I'm picking up from this.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but you're right. The first thing is finding the staff. Philip, if I can interject there, Dan. Philip, um, I would look for doctors, definitely doctors who are working already with the community. I personally think a lot of times those are the best doctors to get with. Um, Depends on the type of study you want to do. Are you looking to do CNS studies or medical studies? It all depends. And also, you need to find yourself a good coordinator. Unless you're going to handle that role as the coordinator. I'm not sure. Is Philip a doctor or what is his background?
Doesn't seem like it. Seems like he's a business guy.
Yeah, it does. He looks like he has an MS.
Okay, so he has a master's in science. So, yeah, I mean, he understands clinical things. It's just
Yes, he does.
you
Well,
still need to partner up with an MD.
I definitely an MD, and I would find myself a good coordinator. Um, if because that's going to be your key too, because you know that there's a lot of paperwork flow in this business, and you have to find somebody that you believe is going to be capable of keeping that flow going and keeping both himself, if he's involved in doing ratings and some of the other medical work along with the doctor, and keeping that MD, that doctor, on track with what they need to be doing. Those are your two components I would get, as well as identifying that location within the hospital, making sure you have an adequate location, and access to the subjects that you want to bring in for those studies. You need to look and see where you're going to pull them from. I would look at all that before I even get started to see exactly where you're going to target. Um, those are the key things right there. And then the next step is contacting pharma. If you've already doing studies and you have relationships with different pharmaceuticals or CROs or whoever it may be, then I would start leaning on those contacts to get studies.
Yeah, and back to the coordinator thing, I think in a country like Kazakhstan, you're better off with a nurse.
Yeah, probably you're probably
Just
right.
hospital nurses and have them also be a coordinator. They're going to have to be good at paperwork. And yeah, I mean, finding the studies is another thing because, it's always tough to convince a sponsor to be the first one, the first one in anything.
Mm.
So if you want to be the first site in Kazakhstan, I mean, it's going to be tough unless you've already established those contacts. And even then, I mean, just to get a monitor to go out to Kazakhstan, I don't know the specifics, but it may be tough to. It's always tough to be the first to market in any region. So, not to say it can't be done.
Yeah.
Make sure you have those contacts first before you start doing all this work. Make sure that you can actually have a study or two to start working on.
I think and I agree with you, Dan. I think in addition, though, what he can do as far as the selling points on this to the sponsors that he's working in an underserved area. And he also, and something else we didn't bring up, you need to look at costs. What is it going to cost them to run it? And that's something he can present to the sponsor. If he can show them that it's not going to cost them as much to develop this, that
Hmm.
can be attractive to them as well.
Yeah. I'm googling Kazakhstan clinical trials just to see if there's. I mean, I'm sure there's something going on there, but
Well, he said he's already there. He's there doing some work.
okay. Then if you already have the studies, you know, just go ahead and start doing the. Obviously find the coordinator. I would suggest would be a nurse.
He's,
Uh, and there's, you have to have monitoring space because I know sometimes there's there's issues with space, especially when you do it in a hospital. If a monitor is going to come over, make sure that you have enough space for that person to review your charts.
and and the other thing too is again too, if he's got the relationship with the hospital and then working with the hospital doctor, if you can find a doctor there that's you know that's a big coup for him as well. And hopefully from that they can funnel subjects right into the research program. And I imagine that's where Philip is looking to go. I mean, at least that's what I would do. That would be my first step.
Yep, and your hospital should have some information at least to get you started as far as regulations that may be specific to your country. So take a look at those and ask people around there what they know about regulations as far as clinical research.
And I guess the thing about it, he's looking to find out how to start one. And I think, I don't know if there's any book that's written out there or anybody's really written anything on how to start a clinical site. Um,
We should do one, Don. Co-written by Don and Dan.
you know what? That's not a bad idea. I think the thing to do is you're already working at a site, is just start picking the brains of the people you're working with. It's a business. You have to understand it is a business, even though you can't look at it as like a medical clinic, right? And I'm speaking to Philip. You cannot look at it as a medical clinic. And I've seen a lot of clinicians do this, and that's where they fail. They come in and think, well, I have a medical clinic and we're doing fine, so I can do research. It's not a medical clinic. And again, because of the type of paper flow that you get, it's completely different. And if it's not organized with that, I've seen doctors fail in that direction. They get frustrated and they back away from it.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that you understand that it is a business, so you have to handle it like a business. You're gonna be doing contracts, and you're going to be negotiating on contracts. You can't always just accept what sponsor gives you, especially if they're asking you to bring in certain specialists, and they're willing to pay lower than what that specialist is going to take. you have to negotiate and show them that that specialist won't do it unless they're going to get paid more money.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then he's going to have to look at that. He's got to look at whether or not they're going to reimburse the clients for their time. If so, how much? So there's going to take money for that, which brings me to another subject. You may have to have money up front as well when you get started because you've got to be able to pay your nurse or your coordinator. The doctor's partner, the doctor may be willing to wait for their payment until you guys get paid from pharma. But you have to understand you do not get paid right away. It can take 3 months or more. Am I right, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. So
So
more probably.
you have to have money to float you. You basically, as Dan always says, you're funding pharma study.
Yeah, we're financing the studies.
And so these are things you got to keep in mind.
Well, Philip, is it Phil? Phil?
I think hang on, because I have a
Phil, I
short
know
term,
it's Lafleur.
I have short-term memory, and my phone keeps going back on lock. Um, Philip,
Philip, thank you very much for your question and for watching. If this video does not answer your questions or you have something more specific, just ask us again and we'll either reply to you, or if it's a topic we think others can benefit from, we'll do another video.
yeah, absolutely.
So thanks,
But
and oh, go ahead, Don.
no, I was just going to say one last note is just make sure you treat it as a business because it is.
This is Dan and Don signing off from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thanks a lot.
Goodbye.